How's it going, everyone? Just want to jump in here for a quick run through of the dev insights of season 22 as that's rapidly approaching. Next Tuesday will be our reset for season 22. Really wish this would have included the artifact for the next season, but that'll come, I guess, as we go with it. So let's just run down this real quick. I'll make sure to skim through the things that if you want to look back at yourself, I'll put the link in the description. That way you can check it out for yourself. But kind of breeze through all the stuff that is maybe more technical, that is maybe won't be the most interesting, or I like that they're adding a bunch of information to this with all these graphs and these run throughs in full detail, because I can kind of get full exposure. But kind of runs on for a very long insight here. So we got some more information, the better. But we'll just kind of go through the important stuff I think that we can focus on. But we'll skim through about everything just to make sure you have an idea of what's going on with it. So start with, we have the weapon balancing. They are talking about what they've done previously. So 7 pre-patch of 7.1.5. This is what the previous year had before the patch, and they're trying to show that after the patch, some of these balances that's kind of changed a little bit. With hand cannon still being out there, and as you always see, the immortal adept weapon didn't really change much. If anything, I think they added maybe more weapons and brought them up a little bit more forward into the popularity, as we can see here. So maybe a little bit more items bringing up the way, but still the immortal is just too broken. Maybe the immortal coming down a little bit from top, but really not that big of a difference from the previous changes. But I do like that they're saying they're looking for progress. They're focusing on PvP. They can tell that people are frustrated and they want to kind of make some kind of difference. Which the statement they had the other day from the game director, which I did not cover, but that, well, you can obviously check that out on, there's a bunch of videos about it already, but I was unavailable to make that video. But they definitely, he came back and I can tell he was kind of showing that the community has kind of tried to change their mind and say that, yeah, PvP matters, PvE matters, and you shouldn't have to, take away from one thing to get into another to make something else better. So I like that they actually took that feedback from the community. So good job, guys. Good job making your voice heard for the developers. And I like that they did also reach out and show that they care, and they hear us, and they kind of want to make a difference. So that's a good thing. So difference here, all primaries changed after just a ton of different things here. So I guess they're trying to show that they're bringing in some new items. That's nice. And then with the combat bows, they were talking about how they wanted to kind of bring up some combat bows or bring up sidearms and stuff, because everything else here is just kind of strong. So as we go through it, we'll see they have some global changes, with the biggest thing I think ever for me, with being a double special, and running two special weapons, one heavy weapon user. They kind of are messing with that. I don't know if you'll be able to fix it by running the ammo drops or special ammo drops, heavy ammo drops on your helmet. If that'll kind of counterbalance the change, if it'll be worth it. We'll do some testing of next season. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'll let you guys know if that's worth it, if we have to go back to one primary, which is still fine. Primary weapons, if they buff them up a little bit, make them more viable, would be nice. SMGs are always really good. Just depends on if they're useful in the artifact. I feel that if you're really going to use them, for most content. Besides PvP. So PvP, you can run whatever you want, which is kind of nice. You don't have to worry too much about the artifact. Artifact's always bonus, but nothing too crazy. So with the changes here, they have PvE kills with two special weapons equipped to now generate heavy ammo at the same rate as two primaries or one primary. So again, we're going back to maybe you're running a Riptide with a SMG with a rocket if you wanted, or still say a SMG or machine gun is my favorite. Anyways, you still may be able to do it with a say a fusion rifle or a glaive, and then a trace rifle, and then a machine gun. You may be fine still with what the ammo drops are, because I feel like the ammo economy there is plenty. And if you wanted to run the, again, the helmet slots for the helmet mod slots, you could. That may make a difference, but also you may lose a lot of super energy losing access to assets in your mod slot there. So we'll see how that goes. It really requires us to test it to see if it's worth it, but it may be killing the double special meta, I would say, at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll see if that changes anything. So radical changes, always nice to have more information on our screen. If they kind of clutter it too much, it will be a problem, but currently they're just replacing active hipfire elements, which is going to work really well with different fields of view. Awesome. Add a perk active indicator for symmetry. Awesome. And then move Grandmaster's charge meter further down the screen to reduce instances overlapping. Sweet. Okay. Not bad at all. So I like that they're noticing that it's clunky, and they're making some changes. The other big one I wanted to talk about is the zoom and damage fall off. Again, we'll have to figure it out during testing, as it will It could balance a lot of weapons. It could make some weapons really weird, some damage scaling. So you may have some weapons that maybe sidearms. They're gonna be really bad or something because they don't have a lot of long range, or maybe it's bringing them together. But they are talking about how bringing the ceiling down for the range and keep everything closer combat for PvP. So that may be nice. But again, this is mostly going to be a testing thing to really see this fall off if it actually works. But scaling damage, fall off distance, adding in some adjustments with some benefits focusing on zoom. Maybe some of the perks that focus on zoom won't be really as strong or really available at all. Like rangefinder may not be worth it anymore. With the benefit down here for with or without rangefinder. The damage, so below that, your comparison that with season 21, damage fall off start distances with or without rangefinder, so they may be changing, these damage fall off stuff. So rangefinder may not be as good or maybe stronger. We'll have to see how it goes. Mainly just test it in season 22, which we can speculate with all the numbers, like give all the graphs and everything here with what we got, but until you actually test it out, all this really isn't gonna mean much for you. Until you just test it out next week. So I'd say don't worry about this fall off. You may notice it, may not notice it. You're better off just trying it out in the season and go, okay, this weapon feels good, this weapon feels bad. I am making a current legendary weapon series on what weapons feel really good to shoot, which ones feel bad. So that may be something to check out to see if there's a weapon in there you want to have questions about. Hey, have you ever used a Riptide before? Why is it so good with chill clip? That kind of thing. And they did talk about chill clip in this also, of course, right after I made that video. So that's always nice too. So there's gonna be a lot of range stuff with their weapons, which is totally fine. So we'll have to see how that goes to 22. So custom tune exotic ranges, they are changing these for penalties for mainly PvP. I think is what will affect everything else. It'll be just make it a little. If it makes it smoother, awesome. If it makes it a little harder to use, it is what it is. So hopefully they can make it so the weapons feel better to shoot, because that's always the hardest thing with the game. If the weapon doesn't feel good, no matter if it's meta or whatever, people won't use it. So even the damage is super high or whatnot. So if it doesn't feel good, it's just gonna do you not fun to use. So we have our weapon archetypes. We have the hand cannons. They still don't feel good in PvE. Even if the whole season they were set up as the unstoppable over glaives. I think people are still using glaives for that season. So I would recommend probably still using glaives. It depends on the changes, but an increased reload speed, awesome. Always a nice thing for hand cannons because they do have really slow reload speeds, and then usually they have lower magazines also, so it's harder. They reload a lot. Like a submachine gun, you can reload really fast, so it kind of works out where you don't have to as long as your reload is fatter of your reload masterwork, then you're in a good spot. So increased reload speed, increased damage with red bars, sweet. My main thing for the hand cannons is increased damage against major combatants, as you mainly would use a hand cannon versus high health targets. You wouldn't really use it as a main thing to take out red bars unless you had something that could change, like if you had destabilizing rounds. Then you could take care of some of the red bar mobs easy with that, the chaining, but you mainly use it to take out really high health targets, but that are not bosses, of course. And then we have the Warden's Law to be the first member of new sub family. Cool, just new category. Maybe they'll bring out more weapons for that. Interesting. Nothing too special there, but we'll talk about bows. Bows have it interesting where they're trying to they're kind of equalize precision bows with lightweight bows, so hopefully they feel a little better. SMGs, they were talking about just basically fixing a display bug, which is really not much of a change. They were nerfing sidearms, which I thought was interesting. Most people don't use sidearms because they don't really they do a good amount of damage. They can keep up with damage, but when you get anything far away, you're gonna need to switch it to like a different sniper or something else also. So maybe sidearms, if they put it into the artifact, it'll definitely be used more, but if they don't put it in the artifact, it becomes a little bit harder. Like season 20, they had it in the artifact for anti-barrier, which was nice, but still you had like a pulse rifle in there for anti-barrier, so it kind of fell off for being used, but it was still at least viable in certain situations. If it's not in the artifact, it may have a harder time working, but interesting. I don't know why they nerfed it, but all right. Pulse rifles, the BXR, they're bringing the increased zoom back. Nice. It'll feel more like the Halo counterpart, that what it really originally was. So it'll be more long range. It'll have that nice BR battler feel. So that's kind of a good change. And then we have shotgun change, fix the impact stats on the comedian. Cool. Nothing changed on there. Fusion rifles. They fixed the bug with the adept masterwork and enhanced intrinsic perks, decreasing damage dealt, which is never a good thing for fusion rifles because most of the time you use your fusion rifle to take out really high health targets or boss damage. If you have control burst, you want to definitely be running, you know, fusion rifle. So anything that reduces damage, not fun. Wave frames, heavy grenade launchers. Yeah, weird thing also. Wave frame, heavy grenade launchers. There's only, I think, one that I can think of, which is the Amino one. Reducing self damage, cool. It's the hardest thing with grenade launchers is most of the time you blow yourself up using them. So you're better off just using a rocket because they do more damage half the time, and you have the less chance of, like, unless you shoot someone really close, then you're gonna die. But grenade launchers, you can shoot a little bit, just a little bit close to you or at your feet, and you just blow yourself up. So, and it's mostly because they curve down. So, yeah, that's nice. Waveframe heavy grenade. I don't know anyone that uses it, but yeah, if they're gonna make it so it's more viable, sweet. The sword changes. So there's a lot of stuff in here for the sword changes. It's gonna ultimately come down to feel for how it's gonna work. I would hope they would do like a full rework of swords to like make them do a whole other thing, and then add in glaives also. They were talking about swords forever, but they can do glaives also. They have like a charge blast or something, or have a swords. They have a long range shot with them besides just the make it exotics. I forgot what is it? The shadow blade something, or some void. It's one of the void exotics. I forget the name of it because I never use it. But they need to add some kind of different feature to it, I thought. But you know, changing some of the blocking up for it is a nice thing. They added a massive increase to the guard resistance, so from 82 to 95 damage reduction, depending on the guard's stats. Nice. Usually glaives are the best for that because you can literally feel immortal behind it. So that's nice. So that's a nice change to use. I still don't know if they'll be used. Like they don't, unless they do like they have better ammo economy and they do way more damage. Or if there's not a boss that's really gonna work for swords, then they won't be used as much. But you know, always a nice change is nice. Increasing movement speed while blocking is nice because they're really slow to use. So yeah, if they works out, sweet. We'll see if they go. So the Monte Carlo, for this little video here, they allow it so it does, you do a few damage, you stack it up, and you bring out your kind of the spear on your Monte Carlo and you charge at them and you can just stab them. So I'm confused on what they said. They were doing the most amount of let's see, they're requiring the host of custom animation work and a lot of things you've never done before. So I was wondering, I don't know what this is gonna really entail. All you're doing is just adding a melee, right? So I guess they had to add a whole feature of extending that, charging out. So we'll see if that works, if it's actually worth it or not. Monte Carlo isn't really the best weapon. I think the most common build with it is the Void Titan build with a shield throw. So I would recommend the Monte Carlo is really good with that build, but most other builds they don't really need. Like most melees are, you get them back with your class ability, like Arc. Arc, for example, you dodge, you get your melee back, so you don't really need that kind of melee energy coming back all the time. But for Solar, maybe Solar with the knives, this may be actually pretty popular for Hunter. So it might be a weapon that we can bring out. If auto rifles aren't in the artifact, again, it'll be a harder thing to get that weapon used and higher content. But it's still a nice change. So the exotic weapon changes they also had here were fixing the animation for Quicksilver Storm. I don't know if you guys have used it, but it definitely was a problem with loading that grenade in. It just looked weird. Like it just looked weird with the animation for loading, so it was delayed. So that's a nice change. Dead Man's Tail, fix the displayed impact stat. Just cosmetic, okay. I'm interested on this one, the two-tailed fox. They reworked the catalyst perk to a third tail. The performance of the weapon was just way off. Yep, no one used it because it is exotic rocket launcher. If you're just gonna use a rocket, you might as well use just a legendary rocket and then put your exotic into some other piece, as it really wasn't a huge amount of change. But if they changed it now so we're fire the third rocket following the second rocket instead of the same time, they may have more damage. So this may actually be a big boost here to actually be worth trying out for one of them, especially if you had like 2 fusion rifles, or if you're on double shotgun build with the two-tailed fox, and someone else was running galley, then maybe that might be the work. So let's see if this works. It's firing 3 rockets, fire 3-shot burst with the catalyst. Cool. We'll see if it works. Let's see if it's in bonus. Verglas curve. I'm really anticipating that the artifact is going to be either stasis and solar, or stasis and maybe arc, and of course strand will probably be in there anyways. I think stasis is going to be the main focus, so getting more buffs to a stasis primary, or especially a primary weapon, a bow, and one that's going to synergize really well with stasis, especially for warlocks. Might be really nice. This might be my go-to weapon. If this stasis is the focus, hopefully if they get bows also, this may be the weapon to use. So we'll also see what the exotic weapon for the season is also, but should be interesting. So Whisper of Fissures detonates now, generate hail barrage stacks. If a stasis crystal was created by this weapon, cool. Hail barrage stacks were always hard to stack at the beginning. I swear it still works, but I haven't got to work myself where you could shoot a grenade, a rocket, and then switch to your bow, and then it would kill the target and then count for your hail barrage. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they patched it. I swear I've seen it done, and I swear it used to work, but I don't think it works anymore. But I missed that effect where you can just blow things up and have a ton of those stasis grenades going, and then you can have just more crystals to break, more cooldowns and class ability, so it just kind of combos really well. More changes to this, always nice. Shivering Quiver now activates when slowing enemies. Sweet. That's gonna be a nice bonus as you slow enemies all day long, especially if stasis is the build for the season. We increase the slow stacks from 40 to 60 when hitting targets directly with Hail Barrage. Perfect. This allows for freeze if 2 Hail Barrages hit. Sweet. Might be good in PvP now. The Lamonarch nerf. This has been in the talks for a long time. They've been saying they're going to do this, and this has actually been needed. I really like using Lamonarch. I'll have to see if it's still worth it now. But mainly they just reduced the dot duration and made it so it still hits hard in the shorter duration. And then their initial damage is a little less. So their body shot damage from 185, but you can still kill people one headshot, one body shot, anyways with the bow. So it's still gonna be a good weapon. Will it be as strong? Not the best, but the big thing I saw was poison damage increased in PvE by 50%. Because don't forget, Lamonarch takes care of overloads. So if overloads aren't easily accessible or taken care of in the or void, for example, also isn't very good in the artifact, then you're gonna need something that'll you may like to use. Lamonarch feels really good to use in PvE if you're void, because you can really proc a lot of things. It does a lot of damage to high health targets, and it takes care of overloads. So if you have something that intrinsically takes care of overloads, that's a nice bonus. So maybe this will be a nice one to use in PvE mainly. It won't be used for PvP as much anymore. Vex Mythic Glass, still broken. It's always been broken. Increased damage against minor red bar targets, combatants by 25%. Sweet, it'll go from more PvP to some PvE. If Solar's in the artifact, people are gonna be using this all day long. Solar Warlocks love this weapon. As it just, if you use I always get the boots, but it is considered a fusion rifle. So if you use the boots, I forget the name of them, but if you dodge in midair, then they'll reload it. So you can basically have an infinite, depending on how much you can either dodge, how you work out your dodge. You can basically be flying all day, dodging, and always firing, and never having to reload. So it's kind of nice. So definitely try that one out. If you can get it, it's a hard drop to get, but definitely if you can get the good luck RNG, definitely grab it. Tommy's Matchbook hasn't changed. I still wouldn't recommend it. It does too much damage to yourself. The same issue that Touch of Malice had. As it just basically kills you. So they didn't really do much to it here. They increased the final round damage, and increased the self damage, and then I think the only thing they did was they increased the health awarded by Touch of Mercy perk by 30 to 75. So it may be decent. I don't think it'll be that good unless you have a lot of self healing. So if you can do it as a Solar Titan, would probably be the way to use this. Probably wouldn't recommend it or you can sit in a well, I guess. You can do it with a Warlock. You have to really situationally, you could. I forget that build. What's that? There's a chest piece that increases your super uptime when you get kills with Radiance, with your Well Radiance. Forget the name of it. But yeah, if you definitely run that with this, it may work out for healing. Same thing with Tommy's Matchbook. So these may work out together, but not the best thing. And the cool thing also, Ball of Darkness now deals arc damage and will blind. It's not unstoppables. So interesting change. Don't know if it'll still be used, but we shall see. Malfeasance Malfeasance does a lot of damage. Sweet. Fixed an issue where Malfeasance Catalyst wasn't displaying the status buff text. All right. Malfeasance is one of the weapons you can actually do tons of boss damage with this weapon, even as a hand cannon, a primary weapon. So if you ran 3 kinetic surges with this weapon, doing just boss damage, say even more if it was a taken target, then you're gonna do a lot of damage just with the primary weapon. So if you want to switch it with a rocket launcher and then primary, you could do potentially just do maybe a mil, 2 mil with just this. So pretty impressive, pretty good. Cloud Strike, I've dreaded this weapon in PvP. If you have it, you can chain kill a bunch of people and it's awesome. But if you don't, you can walk around a corner, someone else gets shot, and then you die also. It's not a fun thing in PvP. But yeah, they're reducing the lethal kill distance of the strike, so that's nice, because a lot of times you'd play trials, you'd spawn, someone would walk left and get shot in the head, and your whole team's dead before you even got a chance to do anything. So that's not a fun way to play. So glad they focused on that and saw that it was a problem. We can implement. Oh, this is what actually the new exotic. So we took a conservative approach with this scout rifle out of the gate. Want to avoid crazy, creating a lousy experience for those who are receiving end of long range primary weapons. So let's see, with headstone added to the catalyst and its ability to create tracking shards from destroying catalysts, you can keep your mag full and your powered melee up more easily. Shattered shard generation will continue to have a brief cooldown as with all shard sources. Cool. I actually missed this one scrolling through, so I was actually reading myself. So the timing window for creeping attrition has increased from 3.5 to 4.5. Sweet. You can now activate thieving harvest by destroying stasis crystals, and the wicked implement catalyst now also includes the headstone perk. Sweet. So I would say that this weapon will be really good if stasis is the main focus of the artifact. But if it's not, then this weapon will still kind of wait by the side. So if it is, this will be a really good weapon to use, scout rifle, along with the Verglass curve up here. So both those weapons may be the primary weapons, along with the two special weapon combo nerf to reducing heavy ammo drops. That may be the two really good weapons that definitely try for PvE content. So the other one, also a bipod here, reduces the damage dealt penalty by 40 to 25%. This may make this an actual really good weapon, or a really good perk to add to your weapon. So this will require some testing, but this may be really nice, especially for high-end like Nightfall content, maybe boss damage, but Nightfall content, if you have a ton of these shots to just shoot off, it may just chain everywhere. So if you were able to get like bipod and destabilizing rounds for whatever combo, that would be just absolute just pandemonium, just chaos everywhere. So let's see how that works. Maybe it'll work out. Envious Assassin, no longer a time limit after kills within which you can activate the perk. Sweet. That was always a weird thing with this weapon. Underover, I saw some people talking about this thing would be really, it's still too niche even with these changes. So they made it so it'll do significantly increased damage to enemies who are enhanced by Dark Cabal overshields or enemies shielded by Lucent Moths. You'd have to really find the weapon and go, okay, I really want this weapon for this specific Nightfall, and then just put in your vault after. It wouldn't feel as good. You can use it for PvP maybe, but we'd have to see, again, testing would have to really determine if this is going to be used. I would say, this would be more of a PvP trait for, definitely dealing with strand targets with woven mail. And then increase bonus damage against combatant shields. It may increase the time to kill with this to replace the rangefinder being kind of fallen off. This may be the replacement for that in PvP. We'll see. Under pressure, reducing the maximum accuracy. Swoop, good. I get bad, but just a PvP fix. Maybe during combat and seeing nearly 100% of time on special ammo. Cool. We'll see how this works. Shoot to loot. This was the one I was talking about previously in my weapon review for the totally blanking right now. Oh, whatever one scout rifle video. I'll remember it later. Of being able to pick up using explosive payload and kinetic trimmers to splash damage to allow collecting orbs. So you can now collect orbs with it, which is awesome. I don't think no longer triggers the reload when shooting a special brick that could picked up while having an overflowed weapon. So they didn't say that you could pick up ammo yet, but I guess you can pick up orbs now with explosive damage. So that really makes weapons with the kinetic trimmer, especially some of the snipers with a kinetic trimmer, be able to pick up orbs of power. That's nice synergy for a lot of armor charge. I'm actually be really busted. So if you have a shoot to loot with explosive payload or shoot to loot with kinetic trimmers, that might make your hung jury, haha, that was the name of the scout rifle. That combo might be actually insane, especially if scout rifle's in the artifact, which I hope it is. Then for this combo, this would be awesome. But shall see. Perfect. Valiant Charge. This perk now deactivates as intended after a single swing. Cool. Interesting. Ambush no longer deactivates from healing, fall off damage, or being shot by allies. Alright. Explosive Light. No more free explosive damage. Some people don't like this one because it's sometimes hard to get orbs, but can be good. Chill Clip. This is what I talked about in my previous video with Riptide. But definitely check that video out if you're want a little more rundown of like a really good fusion rifle. But Chill Clip is something that is a must-have multi-tool. It's a little too easy to deal damage with all three types of champions. It works really well with Overload and Unstoppable. It's harder with Barrier. If you time it really well, you can do it. But they reduce the slow stack from 60 to 40. This is gonna hurt some weapons that have slower firing rates for Chill Clip, but Riptide will still be fine in my opinion. I don't think you'll have any issues as long as you're still using Chill Clip to get the stuns out as you want. So definitely still use Chill Clip or use Riptide with Chill Clip and you'll be fine. Don't even worry about that. The rapid fire will just be absolutely amazing for it. The other big thing would be crafting. So crafting, they're increasing the reputation gain or experience gain in completing activities and all the normal game types, along with platinum scores of legend and master law sectors, which you can get really easy. Check out my channel. There's a ton of those videos on there. You can get these really fast. So if you want to do some weapon leveling, that might be the way to do it. And that you can farm weapon experience with crafted weapons, you can farm exotics, and you can get enhancement cores, right? And then if you don't like any of the gear you get out of there, you can then scrap it and you have legendary shards. You can farm everything out of those law sectors. So if you want to, I definitely recommend running them, and I'll have some new videos out for the next season for you guys to, rapidly go, okay, what's the build I want to use right away? Because it's going to be a lot harder with your lower power level, assuming we have to level back up. So it will be a little more difficult. But back on track here. So they're doing some deep sight changes here, but mainly they are making it so you can spend glimmer and enhancement cores to boost the level of your weapon. So if you don't have enough enhancement cores, go to your lost sectors. You will get a bunch of these easily. So if you want to run legend, you can get them done in like 5 minutes, or you can do master. You can probably do it in 5 minutes also, depending on the run. But this might be the way to actually level up weapons rather than having to go Sorochi all the time and farm weapon. It takes forever sometimes. It also depends on the weapon. If you're doing a rocket, it doesn't take very long. If you're doing a scout rifle, it takes a good amount of time. So definitely nice to have that change where you can just spend currency, which you can farm pretty easily in game, and you may have a stockpile already. Let's see here. So Amino weapon pattern acquisition. This is really nice, where the weekly Pinnacle story mission scores challenge will provide guaranteed Amino weapon patterns. That's always a bonus, as these weapon patterns are always hard to get. Like, I really want the fusion rifle and still I just can't get many drops. So if you can get one from your weekly Pinnacle story mission, you can get one from your Amino vendor Ingram upgrade. You have a drop. Oh, increase the drop chance. The other one's not going to guarantee. So okay, increase the drop chance. Still nice. Because other than that, you have to do a lot of missions to get it, and if there's not a lot of people, say in your phase, or if there's not a lot of people in New Moon at the time, it becomes a little harder. Especially with the lack of exotic like invasion, like the Vex invasions, they don't happen super often. If you ever want to know what that is, there's Discord you can look at that'll give you notices when they're going to be active. So let you know when to check the Amino and such. I can let you know if you guys want to know about that. Just send me a comment and I'll send you that link. The only way to get those is to have the notification mainly, because if you check your map all the time, it's never going to be there. So they want to kind of help us out with some of these drops and help us with deep sights, as I think deep sight weapons are the best weapons to farm unless you want to go for adept weapons. But with crafting weapons, you can level them up and then get the enhanced versions of those perks for your weapon you really like, and then you're set. The enhanced perks are going to be better, or maybe not better at all in all cases for adept, but for most cases, if you're especially getting your god roll adept armor or weapons, it's sometimes harder to get those like perfect rolls. You can craft like 90% of an actual god roll, and it may not be the like highest stats that a adept weapon could do, but it'll still be really compatible. So definitely recommend or definitely appreciate their look at helping the crafting weapons. Do I think that they should unlock more of them, maybe that are kind of expired, like some of the trace rifles or something that is no longer available? Yes, I think they should bring them all back, allow people to gather those items in the world somewhere, rather than just kind of like, oh, you weren't here, you didn't get it kind of thing. As I think some people need some of those I think trace rifles are a really good weapon to have in your vault, or in your, kind of in your arsenal to be able to use whenever you need to. But that's kind of the rundown for this. Sorry if I try to make it short and sweet, but it was like 30 minutes anyways. But just want to give you guys the important information. Definitely check this out. I'll put this link in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. Keep it up. And I'll have a bunch of important videos coming out for the next season, or how to prep for the next season shortly. So definitely check those out. And as always, I appreciate all your support, and I hope you have a fantastic day.